Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be making a card using the stamp of the month and the small die of the month. So the stamp is called Have a Chill Summer and the die of the month is called Day at the Beach. And I will be pairing those two items with a scene die from Hello Bluebird, and that is what I will be putting on the card first. So I used Ocean Scene die from Hello Bluebird to make my background. So that includes the water piece that I'm holding here and the clouds and the sky. Basically all I did to make that was put the die on some blue paper and run it through my machine. Then I used white and light blue to make the clouds and sky. I realized that this die is probably meant for the bottom piece to have some kind of a sandy look, but my vision for this card was more of using the small die of the month from Spellbinders from July here, the Day at the Beach, to use the towel and make it look like a dock. If you're not familiar what a dock is, it is a piece of either wood or plastic that creates kind of like a deck into a body of water. So kind of like a pier, but smaller, more for small boats and people to walk on. Here in Minnesota, we have more than 10,000 lakes, so there's a lot of docks. And when I was die cutting out the towel piece for another card that I was working on, I thought, if I cut this out in brown, it could be a dock. So that's kind of where the vision for this card went. So now that my background is on my card base, I'm going to work on using the small die of the month to make my dock. So if you aren't familiar with Spellbinders and their subscription setup here, they have every month they have a subscription for different products that comes out. And it's kind of related to the season or kind of something that you might find helpful for the time of year. So it's summer now, so for the July subscription items, it's kind of like a summer beachy kind of feel to them. So this die here is actually supposed to be a towel, but again, in blue and brown, it does kind of look like a dock, especially how I place it in the end here. So they have dies and they have stamps. So I will be using the stamp and coordinating die set for the stamp of the month in just a few minutes here. And they also have card kits of the month. And those are basically a kit that comes with all of the things that you need to create your own cards, including the card bases, stickers, paper, anything that you might need. So for this card, like I said, I'm using the small die of the month from July. So I die cut out these little foot shapes, and then the little hooks that look like a horseshoe will be the part of the flip-flop that I'll be using. The other piece is for a handle for a beach bag, but I won't be using that on this card. I try to make the dies go as far as possible, or stretch my dies as they say, and use them for different projects and creations because I like to get the most use out of different products. So I'm going to put this brown piece on right now using some liquid glue, and the liquid glue I'm using is Barely Art liquid glue. It dries clear and it can be found on the Spellbinders website. Just going to hold it in place and make sure it's lining up with the water. So the view of this card is as if you were standing on the dock looking out into the water. Now I need to make my flip-flops, and I'm going to put them on the dock as if someone were walking on the dock and decided, hey, let's go for a swim. And they took their shoes off, left them on the dock, and went swimming. So I need to assemble those flip-flops again with my liquid glue and my reverse tweezers. So if you are interested in seeing any of the monthly products from Spellbinders, I will have those linked below. If you're not familiar with them, I would definitely take a look at it because it's pretty fun to see what people do with the monthly items. And if you're interested for even more inspiration for what people do with those products, I do have a kind of like a fan page on Facebook for the subscription items, and that's also linked in this video's description. So if you're wondering, well, what can I really do with a stamp set that has a bunch of sentiments and a popsicle, I'll show you. And other people will show you on this Facebook group too. It's so cool. So that's an option. Now, you can't quite see it on camera, but on the very right side of my horizon line where the clouds and the water meet, there is a little bit of a gap. And I'm not sure why this happened. I don't know if it has to do with the dye or how I put my paper in my machine or my gluing. I'm not sure. But there is a hole. Maybe not a hole, more like a slice of paper, so you can see the card base basically. So I'm going to cover that up by using a stamp from the stamp of the month and the coordinating dies. So this stamp is a full stamp set, but there is coordinating dies that come with it. So like you can see here, this one is full of sentiments. And I'm going to end up going with the one that says sunshine and good times. Now, you could stamp that onto just a piece of paper and cut it out and put it on your card. Or you could use the coordinating dies and after you stamp it, die cut out the sentiment. It isn't necessary for card making, but it definitely finishes off the card in kind of a nice way. So to stamp out my sentiment, I'm going to use my Misty tool. That is this pink contraption here. It basically allows you to stamp more than once by opening and closing this clear door. So I'll put my paper down using a little bit of a magnet there that comes with the Misty. I'm going to use some black ink. I prefer black ink probably more than any other color ink. It's just what I use a lot. And I stamped it down and just kind of did it one more time there, kind of a half press, just to make sure that it was all even. So now I'm going to use the coordinating die of the month that comes with the stamp. So if you sign up for the stamp and coordinating, you will get the coordinating dies. And I will cut out the sentiment. If you've never used a sentiment die for a sentiment, I always recommend stamping first and then placing the die over the stamp like this. It just seems to be a little easier to line up the die than it is to line up the stamp on either using the Misty after it's been die cut out or using a acrylic block. I always like to use a little bit of washi tape or some of the craft tape to hold down a die if it's been stamped, just so when it goes through the machine it doesn't wiggle and miscut. If it did, I would just have to restamp, which isn't the biggest deal, but it definitely saves time if you don't have to redo it over and over. And it just pops right out, and now it's ready for my card. I will use my reverse tweezers and plan it out where it's going to go. Just put a little bit of liquid glue on the back and place it right where I want it. It's really a good reason to use reverse tweezers because you can see what you're doing without your fingers getting in the way. Then when I release my tweezers, I will just press it down to make sure that it is in place and it won't wiggle around. And that is my finished card. So if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It helps this video get to more people who would enjoy the content. And if you are interested in more videos from my channel, please subscribe. And I'll be putting out quite a few videos here in July. So be on the lookout. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!